Pregame.com.
Duke at Miami. Hurricanes open 14-point home favorites, now as high as 15.5. That line should continue to climb. This is your play. Who do you like? Why do you like them?
I'm going to take Duke here. I was on Duke, I believe it was last week. In fact, I've been on Duke a lot this year. This is a team who's 34-16 against the spread as a road underdog since 2002. Nobody ever gives Duke any credit. I think it's the old Duke.
Yeah.
And it's a situation, and I follow turnovers a lot in college football and the NFL. Amazing stat, Duke has lost a turnover battle in 5 games this year. Their spread record in those 5 games is 4-1 against the spread.
That's so
that
rare.
That never happens.
No.
Never happens. That tells you how undervalued this Duke team is. Duke in this series against Miami, they've covered 4 out of the last 5, and they haven't had a losing record as a conference road dog in over a decade. There's tons of value on Duke. You take a look at Miami. From a situational standpoint, Miami has a huge rival, Florida State, on deck, along with in-state rival South Florida the following week. You know what they have in common other than being in the same state? They lost last year to both those teams. So 2 huge games on deck for Miami. And Miami, as opposed to Duke, Miami hasn't posted a winning home favorite record in any year since 2001. So we've got one team who is in their great role as a road dog, undervalued because of turnovers. And you've got the other side. We've got Miami as a home favorite. They're a terrible home favorite, and the schedule says this is a bad spot for them. So I love this game in Duke. I think I bet this game earlier in the week. I had 15.5. The line's still out there right now. I really do like this game.
You know, I agree with you. And more times than not, you could look at a team's turnover ratio and pretty much figure out what they are ATS that year, whether they had a winning ATS or a losing ATS. And that's a great point that Duke, even though losing turnover battles, is still covering games. That tells you they're undervalued, you know. I think they're undervalued in this spot as well. Here's why I think Duke could hang in there. Their weakness is running the ball. You know, if they become one-dimensional because they pass the ball, they're 28th in all of college football in passing yards, and they're 109th in rushing yards. If a good team, you know, a powerhouse, could really shut down so they have no running game and force them to only pass, they become extremely beatable. You know, it's not hard to game plan against them. But Miami is weak against the run. I mean, you have a defense that's 82nd in rushing yards allowed. That tells me Duke's going to have some success running the ball. If anything, this is the one week where they may be able to run a little to make the passing a lot easier for them. And like I said, they already have success throwing the ball. You give me Duke with all those points in a game where their offense is going to be a lot more balanced, and I think it's a great spot to back them. And then you brought up the motivational factor. Miami's looking ahead. You know, they got 2 big games coming up, and Duke is the cupcake on the schedule. Nobody circled Duke at the beginning of the season. I think Miami, with all the problems they had coming into the season, the only time you look to back them is when you know you're going to get a motivated 100% effort from them. You know, I backed them. I believe it was against Georgia Tech. I thought it was a good spot for them. They were a motivated team playing at home. Here's a spot where I don't think I'm going to see a motivated Miami team. And they're just not good enough. They're not talented enough yet or mature enough yet to be able to cover these kind of numbers without putting out that kind of like full effort. And I think Duke could hang around and create some problems. And with a passing game like Duke's, that back door is going to be wide open throughout the game. I like Duke, and I'll go a step further. I like the over in this game. I think Duke does some scoring, and obviously Miami's going to do their scoring as well. I could see both teams getting, you know, over 28 points, both cracking 30. If that's the case, we got an over, you know, cash in as well. I agree with you, Brian. You don't have to talk me into it. I really like what you said about Duke. And like I said, I lean over as well. Duke being 1-6-1 to the under, I think we get a little value on the total. And when you look at the scores the last, you know, 2 years, we saw games go under with these two, but yet the total's still coming out high. In 2009, it was 56.5. They scored 50 points. 2010 last year, the total was 57. They only put up 41 points. And yet here they are again, throwing out a total of 55 where it opened at. It's 56 now. Looks like a little sharp money on the over. I like your dog, and I'm going to couple it with my over, I think. I might toss in a parlay on this one.
Can't argue with that.
Duke?
Duke's the best bet for me this week. I do have a great deal, I think, for all of my plays on Saturday. As always, I break them up individual plays, but I've put everything in one package this week on Saturday. And it's the first time I've done that all season. It's at a very reasonable rate. You can get that right now on the website.
Premium pass from Bryan for Saturday's college football. I'm all over it. There you have it. Bryan, this is your best bet, correct?
Best bet right
Duke plus 15.5 or better. Line should climb. Bryan's best bet for Saturday. We'll be back breaking down 2 NFL games.